Welcome to Art Digital Magazine, where we present the latest in cutting-edge art and technology by featuring weekly interviews with the brightest minds in the creative world. Art Digital Magazine, bringing you the future. This show is sponsored by Be Well is an alternative medicine clinic located in Oakland, California, providing acupuncture, massage therapy, herbal medicine, and other holistic treatments in a calm, compassionate setting. Visit BeWellNatural.com. This is Max Eternity, and I'm here with Andrew Reach. Reach is a former architect with HOK in Miami. His career changed over time into that of a digital artist, specializing in fine art prints, limited edition fine art prints. Reach is a contributing writer to Art Digital Magazine, and he's going to talk today about a variety of issues. We'll start with digital printmaking and how that is something that has become sort of a hallmark of what you do and why you feel that it's important.
Well, first, Max, thanks for having me today.
My pleasure.
Digital printmaking is, I think, a form of digital art that is has its own unique place in digital art. There's a lot of talk about new media art. There's a lot of exciting things happening in digital technology across many platforms. And what I find myself doing, what my interest is to create the old-fashioned idea of a picture that gets hung up on a wall where people can come look at it and experience it and have their own personal moment with it. And that idea, a picture is really no different than a painting on the wall or a photograph on the wall. And that's kind of different than a lot of other digital things that I could get myself into. But I'm kind of focused right now on the idea of making pictures the old-fashioned way, but I'm just happen to be using digital technology.
And the piece hanging behind you, that's a piece of your work there?
Yes, that's an early print. It's one of my first prints that I made. It goes back in 2005. It's called Fish Out of Water. And it was kind of early when I was actually just making a transition from being an architect. I'd become fully disabled, and it was my first year of doing digital art. And so that's the title. I was feeling like uncertain where I was, where I fit in the world. I was feeling like a fish out of water. But that's an example of an early print. And it was very exciting for me to be able to produce all of a sudden, to be making buildings at one point in my life, and then all of a sudden I was creating works of art that actually were things that I could put up on the wall and share with other people.
And so when you talk about printmaking, what comes to mind often is lithographs, edition prints, but so often what I've discovered in my journalistic career is that people hear digital prints and they automatically think reproductions. You don't make reproductions.
No, I grew up kind of exposed to modern art. And the way I was exposed to modern art is I had some relatives that were art dealers, and my parents would, on occasion, buy a limited edition lithograph or seriograph of some of the modernists. And they weren't extremely valuable pieces of art like originals were, but here they were in my home. You know, I had a Miro, I had a Picasso.
When you say originals, you mean original paintings.
An original painting.
But they were originals because they were multiple originals, not to be confused with reproductions.
Right. And they were your traditional limited edition prints by the artist, where they would work, instead of in the painting medium, they would be working with lithography, for instance.
And it would be like signed numbered prints is what you're talking about.
Right. So I grew up experienced. I would see, Miro, and here was a print that was like number 20 out of 150. And so, early on, I kind of knew what that was, and I had an understanding of what a limited edition print was. And so when I started doing digital art, at first I was really not even aware that I was actually creating work that could become what I had grown up with. And then collectible, exactly. I was really doing it for myself, for my own therapy, to actually cope with what I was going through with my disability. But then, as I was getting frustrated with printing them out on small pieces of paper, because I had basically what most people would have on their desktop, which is a desktop inkjet printer, I was creating these works of art that I was envisioning in my mind as being much larger. Even though I'm working on a screen, being an architect, I have a sense of scale. Architects always draw big buildings, but on little pieces of paper. So in a sense, I was doing the same thing, drawing big pictures, but on little pieces of paper.
We continue in a moment. There's a buzz going on around the nation about Oakland, California's fabulous urban renewal. At the heart of these exciting activities is Oakland's thriving art scene, which you can enjoy the first Friday of every month. It's called the Oakland Art Murmur, co-hosted by dozens of art galleries, live music performances, cocktails, and conversation. So the next time you're in town, come experience what all the talk is about at the Oakland Art Murmur in downtown Oakland, California. Go deeper into the world of art, technology, and creativity by attending a 21st Century Creative Legends Workshops with the Masters. This exciting new one-day workshop series will travel across the nation, visiting San Francisco, Atlanta, New York City, Cleveland, Boston, Dallas, and many other cities. Workshops with the Masters is produced by MaxiEternity.com, an art digital magazine, so you can be sure of a quality experience that's interesting, enlightening, and educational. You'll have one-on-one direct experience with renowned authors, artists, educators from around the world. So visit artdigitalmagazine.com or MaxiEternity.com to learn more and sign up today. So, Andrew, you were just talking a moment ago about your former career as an architect, and there's an interdisciplinary aspect of digital technology that has assisted in the facilitation of your present career as a digital artist. Could you comment on that?
Yes. Well, going back to my training as an architect, one of my professors at Pratt Institute really encouraged the students to go to museums in New York and look at the modernists, look at art in general, and particularly look at a lot of the modernist art, a lot of it inspired by the Bauhaus, and start to understand that art and architecture really were connected very closely. So I think there's naturally just all architects kind of naturally have a predisposition, I think, to be connected somehow to art.
And right, and in the case of the Bauhaus, you have Walter Gropius, who is also a sculptor.
Oh, and there's so many, you could talk about the Gestalt movement, and most of them actually, Mondrian, for instance, they were just really drawing two-dimensional drawings, but then you had a few of them that were going completely outside of the box, like Reichfeld, and creating three-dimensional space. So that's kind of a perfect example of the two kind of totally merging together in a sense. So I always felt a close connection to art and architecture even before I came into, I would say, considering myself a fine artist.
We continue in a moment. Be Well is an alternative medicine clinic located in Oakland, California, providing acupuncture, massage therapy, herbal medicine, and other holistic treatments in a calm, compassionate setting. Visit BeWellNatural.com. I wanted to ask about an article you wrote for Art Digital Magazine entitled Techno Meditation. But before we get into that, what are things, we talked about architecture a second ago. What are some things that you would say that overlap or sort of you see in both realms of creativity?
Oh, that's a great question. There's so many things as an architect that I learned from the fine arts. I mean, how to create a composition, for instance. And when you create a building in essence is a composition, say Le Corbusier would say it's composition in light. But that word composition always comes into the conversation. So you learn things about proportional systems from the Renaissance, for instance, and rhythm, syncopation, harmonics. Scale is a very important one as well. And so all those things carry over quite importantly into creating spaces and being an architect. So, that's actually a very close connection.
And the article that I mentioned, Techno Meditations, that was a piece that, you were talking about healing, art therapy, sort of the spiritual aspect of creativity, which of course goes back to the Bauhaus as well, because they talk quite a bit about that. What are some of the points of techno meditation that sort of stick out in your mind?
Well, I guess it's what I've discovered in the process as I've been going through it. When I first started the process, it was really started as a way of just having something to do with my creativity outside of, because I was no longer being able to go to work and being, the architect. I used to love to get up every morning. I used to love to go to work every day. It was a new adventure. And here I was without any of those outlets. So luckily with technology, had I didn't have computers and I was, maybe I would be sketching on small pieces of paper. But no matter what, the idea that I was able to continue my creativity was like just a lifesaver for me. And at first I didn't really understand what art therapy was. It wasn't something, I wasn't familiar with the movement of art and healthcare and all the things that are going on with the healing arts. I really wasn't part of that world. But as maybe it took me the first year, and then all of a sudden I had a body of work in front of me, and I was able to kind of step back and look at it and say, well, this has taken me on this transformational journey, and it's helped me. I used to be 8 months ago or 12 months earlier, I was severely depressed and didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And all of a sudden I had this outlet that just completely opened myself to a whole new place that I never would have imagined I would have gone to.
Because, from what you and I have talked about before, your disability with your spine just basically made it impossible for you to be out walking around, lifting heavy things and bending over and so forth. And that it had a big emotional impact. And it sounds like it led you to sort of some spiritual contemplation, meditation, if you will.
Well, an interesting aspect for me is I've been with my life partner for 31 years, Bruce Baumwall, and I was always more the cerebral academic in the relationship, and he was always coming from a more spiritual place. And over the years, I've learned a lot of spirituality from him. But it wasn't really through the arts that we were learning spirituality through just the way we approach life and living on this planet. But when he encouraged me to do it, so I think what happened is I was taking a lot of what he had taught me, and then all of a sudden I was putting it into this work because it was something. The one thing about architecture is a little buildings. You have a client, you have a program. You don't have free reign to put your spirituality necessarily into a building unless maybe I was in my own practice and doing my own buildings all by myself. So I think that had quite a bit to do with it.
There's a buzz going on around the nation about Oakland, California's fabulous urban renewal. At the heart of these exciting activities is Oakland's thriving art scene, which you can enjoy the first Friday of every month. It's called the Oakland Art Murmur, co-hosted by dozens of art galleries, live music performances, cocktails, and conversation. So the next time you're in town, come experience what all the talk is about at the Oakland Art Murmur in downtown Oakland, California. Go deeper into the world of art, technology, and creativity by attending a 21st Century Creative Legends Workshops with the Masters. This exciting new one-day workshop series will travel across the nation, visiting San Francisco, Atlanta, New York City, Cleveland, Boston, Dallas, and many other cities. Workshops with the Masters is produced by MaxEternity.com, an art digital magazine, so you can be sure of a quality experience that's interesting, enlightening, and educational. You'll have one-on-one direct experience with renowned authors, artists, educators from around the world. So visit artdigitalmagazine.com or maxeternity.com to learn more and sign up today. So the question of curiosity, exploration comes to mind because there's so many unanswered questions. And so artists, curators, institution builders, in my view, need to become more curious and exploratory. Your thoughts and ideas on this?
Well, for me personally, one of the things I really find really great about digital technology and using Photoshop is that it enables me to go on new journeys and new explorations. And I like to dig back into my education and dig back into my interests and cultures from around the world and different, artistic traditions from different places, and dig into that and say, well, what can I take from that and transform it so I can say something about myself? So that's part of that kind of exploratory aspect of digital technology, because it makes that process a little bit simpler, enables me to kind of quickly test things out and do lots of different things.
And it has an aspect of anthropology when you are sort of going back to other cultures and infusing that in what's happening today along with the technology and so forth.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting now in the times we live in now that, say, if you go back to the turn of the century and the early part of the last century, we had almost a shift like we're having right now, and a revolutionary change in the evolution of art. And those people, they were mostly white Europeans, were taking ideas from cultures around the world and they were putting that into their art. What I think is happening now is a similar thing, but the difference is now it's truly global. It's not just Europeans from one continent doing it, but now you have people from every continent doing it and sharing it and disseminating it. So I think we're, in certain ways, there's a parallel, but in other ways, we're going one step further than we were.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's an art history timeline at the Metropolitan Museum of Art's website, the Hellbrunn timeline. Denise Morel wrote an essay, African Influences in Modern Art. I mention that because institution builders have some responsibility as, quote, the gatekeepers of art and culture. What would you say if you had the ear of 50 of the world's greatest curators? What might you say to some of them in relation to changing trends in art and contemporary anthropologies?
Well, I actually think it relates back to what I was just talking about earlier, where if you looked at, say, some of the earliest groups of, say, the Blue Rider group, Kandinsky, and what he was doing what was considered revolutionary. And then all kinds of artists came on board and different movements started. And like in any shift, there's always a resistance. And right. The way I start to look at it is that the resistance maybe is a good thing, because if things are too quickly adopted, maybe it's the resistance and the difficulty to get ourselves into the...
It strengthens the practitioners.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes us, I think, more empowered to even just fight for what we're doing.
This show is sponsored by Be Well is an alternative medicine clinic located in Oakland, California, providing acupuncture, massage therapy, herbal medicine, and other holistic treatments in a calm, compassionate setting. Visit BeWellNatural.com. Go deeper into the world of art, technology, and creativity by attending a 21st Century Creative Legends Workshops with the Masters. This exciting new one-day workshop series will travel across the nation, visiting San Francisco, Atlanta, New York City, Cleveland, Boston, Dallas, and many other cities. Workshops with the Masters is produced by MaxEternity.com and Art Digital Magazine, so you can be sure of a quality experience that's interesting, enlightening, and educational. You'll have one-on-one direct experience with renowned authors, artists, educators from around the world. So visit artdigitalmagazine.com or maxeternity.com to learn more and sign up today.